So Elon Musk and Tesla are in trouble, and the question is, will they be going bankrupt? That's the subject of today's video. As it turns out, there are more charges from the SEC on Elon Musk. People are quitting on him over at Tesla. He's getting called out by experts, and there's yet another new lawsuit. We got a lot to go over, and let's just jump right in. So, headline: Musk blasts SEC over offer to settle long-running federal probe, and SEC reopens probe into Elon Musk's Neuralink. He was actually tweeting out this, sharing a letter that his lawyer is sending to Gary Gensler, the head of SEC. Elon Musk says, "Oh, Gary, how could you do this to me?" And then he tweets out a picture of Gary Gensler, I guess is a snail in a suit. Says, "Ask Grot to draw a picture of Gary Gensler." Very flattening, I think. Again, this is the head of the SEC, and Elon Musk has been known to mock government officials before. And I mean, usually you don't see this from CEOs, but that's Elon Musk, and I guess people like him for that. This is the letter from Elon Musk's lawyer to the SEC. It says, "In a matter of certain purchases, sales, and disclosures of Twitter shares, dear Chair Gensler." Now, basically, I'll give you the rundown, then we'll read the letter. When Elon Musk was buying up Twitter, when you reach a certain point, I believe it's 10% ownership, you need to disclose that publicly, right? So essentially, you're buying up the shares secretly. This is a publicly traded company. You reach a certain threshold, you disclose that publicly, but he didn't. They disclosed it late, and they said like, "Oh, I forgot," or "I forget to hit send on the email," that kind of stuff. And essentially, they've been in trouble with the SEC for that. The SEC has been trying to get him to come in and testify, and Musk basically refuses to do so. And now it looks like the SEC is offering them, "Hey, just settle, pay the fine, and let's move on." But also, we have the new charges from about Neuralink. This is the letter to SEC from the lawyer. It says here, "Yesterday, the commission's staff issued a settlement demand that required Mr. Musk to agree within 48 hours." So there's a 2-day timeline here. It's pretty interesting. To either accept a monetary payment, so it sounds like fine, or face charges on numerous counts. So it's more than one thing. They indicated that this demand was result of a directive from superiors, and that charges would be brought imminently unless Mr. Musk acquiesced. This demand follows a multi-year investigation and more than 6 years of harassment of Mr. Musk by the commission and its staff. So again, the lawyer's like, "Stop harassing us. You've been doing it for 6 years." I would argue you've been breaking the law for 6 years. So there's that. They also say, "More recently, the staff subpoenaed me, Mr. Musk's attorney, for testimony and threatened to send a process server if I did not immediately cooperate. I categorically refused. This week, the commission has also reopened an investigation into Neuralink." This series of events makes clear that the commission, referring to the SEC, is not motivated to seek the truth, but instead is engaged in an improperly motivated campaign against Mr. Musk and individuals and companies associated with him. "We demand to know who directed these actions and whether it was you or the White House. These tactics and misguided scheme will not intimidate us. We reserve all rights." Very truly yours. So that's be fighting words. And again, essentially the SEC, it looks like they gave him a deal, you got 40 hours, pay the fine or whatever. But I doubt Musk's going to pay the fine. They're going to try to fight this. To understand kind of like Musk's mentality, and I understand his fanboys and fangirls like this kind of stuff, but this is the kind of crap that he tweets out. This is just like a few hours ago. Normal people, Musk says, is 2 + 2 = 4. And then leftists, he has a whole string of stuff like, do you have a source? Is it fact check? Is it peer reviewed, etc.? Basically, he's criticizing people who think critically and compliments people who have a simple mind. 2 + 2 = 4. There's that. So that's Musk. I just laugh because it's like, if you have, any kind of, how can I say, critical thinking or maturity, another word you could say, you can see right through Musk's charade. But I completely understand in the world of Twitter sphere and essentially his fans, it's all about memes and jokes, etc. It's about skirting the law. When you get called out on your BS, you basically tweet out a bunch of memes and stuff like that. And his fanboys and fangirls go along with it. And then you try to play victim. To be fair to Mr. Musk, he's a rich dude, and you got lawyers, and you can kind of do what you want in USA. The question that we're all watching, and this is where it gets interesting, is how long can you keep this charade going? How long can you sell vaporware right? And how long can you pump up the stock? And you just bought a president. So that's why we're all watching this. Like, I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen something like this before in history, in this magnitude. That's why I keep calling it the biggest pump it up in fraud in history. And I guess now he's trying to build a new city in Texas. This is another thing for Musk. It's always a busy drama with this dude. He says here, SpaceX HQ will now officially be in city of Starbase, Texas. So I guess they're going to incorporate into a city. And then you have this headline: Tesla loses its head of autopilot hardware engineering to Amazon's self-driving effort. Essentially, people keep quitting on Elon. Now, I understand to the fanboys and fangirls, they think that Elon is an engineer. They think that he's a genius. They think he does everything all by himself. I hate to break it to you, Elon is not a genius. Elon is not an engineer. And without good people, they're never going to be able to solve anything over there in terms of technology. This is a big blow, and it just keeps on coming. Every couple of weeks, you hear about another key person leaving Tesla, and you always wonder, like, who the heck is left over there, and how long this trade can go on without employees. This is the person here. His name is Jung Gao, and it says here, Zoox hired him. This is Amazon. We're thrilled to welcome Jung Gao, Director, Hardware Engineering. Jung spent the past 8 years of his career at Tesla, where he led autopilot hardware design. So this would be very important to Tesla, this person. Before Tesla, Jung spent 9 years at Apple. It says connector input, and with over 100 patents. That must be him then. He's got 100 patents, I guess. With over 100 US patents, Jung is experienced in developing high volume, high reliability hardware. Welcome to Zoox, Jung. I was actually looking at his resume. Yeah, he was 8 years at Tesla, 9 years at Apple, and he's leading your hardware engineering. I mean, this guy's really important. So this is a major blow. This was just a couple days ago. And I was actually looking at Zoox, which is pretty interesting. So the co-founder of Zoox was basically making fun of Tesla because, I mean, obviously they just, grabbed one of their top people and then basically saying that their hardware is no good. So let me read this. It's actually really interesting. So this is Zoox. There would be another, people into this technology, so they'd be experts as well. It says here, Zoox co-founder and CTO, so Chief Technology Officer, Jesse Levinson, doesn't believe Tesla will launch a robotaxi hailing service in California or anywhere else next year, despite what Elon Musk recently claimed. Okay, let's read some more. The quote, fundamental issue is they don't have technology that works. So that's coming from Zoox. That's some shots over the bow. The fundamental issue is they don't have technology that works, referring to Tesla. And by works, I want to differentiate between a driver assistance system that drives most of the time, except when it doesn't, and then you have to take over, versus a system that's so reliable and robust, you don't need a person in it. And that is a very, good attack on Tesla, because the Tesla people say, oh, see, we're getting better. You need less interventions, etc. But this guy's, it either works or it doesn't, right? It either works without a driver or you got to watch all the time. And part of the problem with the, full self-driving crap, well, one, it's mislabeled, but two is like, if you constantly have to pay attention to it, it just creates more stress. It either works or it doesn't. And so that's what the guys is saying is like, well, either can drive by itself or not. He also goes on to say, there's a quote, he says, it says, Levinson went further to specifically pointed to Tesla's decision to rely solely on cameras, because remember, Tesla doesn't use sensors, to support drivers, and says, quote, our perspective is you really need significantly more hardware than Tesla's putting in their vehicles to build a robotaxi that is not just as safe, but especially safer than a human. So basically, they're saying you can't do without sensors, essentially. And then this is not just Zoox saying it. Everyone that I've looked at who's experts in these fields is saying that just Tesla's method is not going to work. And basically, Tesla's, what they're trying to do, they're trying to build a cheaper version of a robot car and then convince everyone else that they're going to make oodles of profits. Again, they're trying to build it for cheap. They're trying to cut corners, another way to say it. Levinson goes on to say, and again, this is over at Zoox, Levinson said he uses Tesla's full self-driving supervised software every couple of weeks, so he does have experience using it. Because oftentimes the fanboys or fangirls will say, oh, you ever use it? You ever use it? Blah, blah, blah. And then this guy said he'd used it. And he says, and while he called it, quote, impressive, he also said it is a bit stressful, right? So that's pretty fair. Another quote here, usually it does the right thing, and then it sort of lulls you into this false sense of complacency, and then it does the wrong thing. And you're like, oh my God. And this is another quote here. He says, Levinson went on to say he believes FSD is, quote, about 100 times less safe. Again, about 100 times less safe than a human if you look at all the metrics that are publicly available. And it's interesting because this also comes at a time when they're getting sued by a family who just lost a loved one to due to Tesla's, we call it cars, whatever you want to call these things. And this is the headline here. Family blames Elon Musk for son's death while driving Tesla in autopilot mode. From the lawyer of the family, and this is just a couple days ago. And you're going to keep getting this stuff. Tesla's going to keep killing people. This is real. So, I know we make a lot of jokes about Tesla and Elon and stuff like that. But guys, when you're talking about actual technology on the road that's not ready, that has people's lives at risk, and even if you don't have a Tesla could hit you. This is really serious stuff. I can't stress that enough. So this is coming from the lawyer of the family, and again, this is a couple days ago. They lost someone. The attorney says, quote, this is yet another example of Tesla using our public roadways to perform research and development of its autonomous driving technology, right? So basically, U.S. highways and U.S. roads are places for, essentially amateur drivers to beta test this technology that is lethal. The lawyer also says here, the injuries suffered by the first responders and the death of Mr. Mendoza, so the person in the car, and then also people trying to help, were entirely preventable. What's worse is that Tesla knows that many of its earlier model vehicles continue to drive our roadways today with the same defect, putting first responders and public at risk. He's saying this thing ill performs, and even if it's an update, it doesn't correct the problems. Says here, that says the autopilot feature be described as ill-equipped to perform, and that instead of announcing a recall to correct problems, the company simply releases a new software and calls it an update, right? So you got to do hardware stuff, and they don't. And it also says it's this rush of pushing product out that is not really ready for prime time. So you got Zooks calling these people out, you have the lawyer calling the people out, and there was this interesting thing here too, which I've known about this stuff, but I just want to point these guys if you've never seen these things before. Here's the headline. This is from last year. It says Tesla again paints a crash data story that misleads many readers. Basically, and I'll give you the rundown of this article and I'll tell you some other stuff. So basically, this person's saying, they looked at all the crash data at Tesla, and Tesla likes to say, "Oh, we're so safe." But it depends how you define what a crash is, and you can kind of manipulate the data to not sort of how can I say, you don't rate your crash data in your cars in a standardized way that other car companies may do it. So essentially, you can fudge the numbers a bit to make your cars look safer than they are. That's basically what it boils down to. The other one thing is I mentioned before on the channel. Tesla will have all of these stock promoters and influencer people put videos of full self-driving out there on the internet, but what they don't tell you, right? Well, one, these things can be edited, so if there's any kind of mishap with the driving, they just cut that out, and that's obviously someone who's trying to promote Tesla. And then two, the Tesla engineers put special time on the driving experience of anyone who's putting out public videos that are essentially putting out the stuff on behalf of Tesla / promoting them, and so that also gives a misrepresentation. So the FSD performance you may see in a stock promoter video will be very, very different than your video because Tesla isn't putting special attention on your experience, right? And essentially, you can get these cars to drive on tracks, and basically, like you can put invisible walls in there, and that's been reported from insiders that work at Tesla. There's also just shenanigans going on over there. And you also have this, which is actually a really interesting one because a lot of people have guessed this, but it looks like Deutsche Bank is sort of, how can I say, letting the cat out of the bag, I guess you could say. Read the headline here. It says, Tesla aims to launch robotaxi with teleoperator backup, Deutsche Bank says. We just had a few days ago where Deutsche Bank was trying to put out a rumor there that Tesla's got this low-cost vehicle coming out. But this is an interesting one. So basically, they're saying that as a backup they'll probably have some person in office somewhere, who knows, India or whatever, and seriously, and that'll be teleoperating the car. So whatever Tesla puts on the road with these robotaxi things, it's not going to be real. The other thing I want to mention, and actually I'll read the quote since we're talking about it. It says here, this is I guess from Deutsche Bank in a bank note. It says Tesla believes it would be reasonable to assume some type of teleoperator would be needed, at least initially for safety redundancy purposes. A manager intends to start off entirely with a company-owned fleet and internally developed ride-hail app. But regarding the teleoperating thing, who knows how long they'll end up doing that. Their driving system, I think, is level 2, autonomous driving. There's 5 levels of this thing. I think Waymo's at level 4, so Tesla's not even a leader in that. And you'll know when they make progress when they apply for a reclassification of their thing. So if their thing is so good, why don't they reapply for a reclassification? It's level 2, right? It's not reply for more. Also, if Tesla's so good, why don't they apply for a license to do your taxi stuff? You would hear about these kind of things in the news, and the stock promoters would all be about that. But these things aren't even in place. They're not applied for license. They don't have higher level rating. And another one is you'll know this thing actually works when insurance companies lower your rates if you have the driving stuff installed, right? So there's multiple things we could go over this stuff, but I just wanted you guys hear an opinion from an expert over at Zoox. They got people firing. People are suing him, and he's in trouble with the SEC yet again. The Neuralink thing, which I just barely even touched on, was basically maybe not telling investors that the product isn't safe, something like that. But we'll see. There'll probably be more charges announced, and we'll cover that. So that's what's up in the world of Muskland and Tesla. It's always fascinating to follow this story. I want to hear your thoughts of any number of these issues that we talked about, and I'll catch you all guys in the next video.